Another great week of college football in the books, and there's lots to go over. This week had everything that we love about this sport on full display, so let's talk about it. Welcome back into the channel, Peak Sports. I'm Weston, and here we're covering everything college football related. And in this video, we're going to be reviewing week 4 of college football. So let's get right into it. First game that we're going to talk about was Clemson at Wake Forest. So this was a quarterback duel that did not disappoint. I was really impressed with how the Demon Deacons played in this one. There were a lot of questions on the offensive line for Wake Forest going into this game about protecting the quarterback and giving him time to throw. But they held their own. Sam Hartman wasn't necessarily running for his life. The running game didn't really quite get going for them. They got a little bit at the end. Sam Hartman held his own, threw for 337 yards and 6 touchdowns. And DJ showed out as well with 371 yards passing and 5 touchdowns. My takeaway from this is that Wake Forest really impressed at home, although it looked like the crowd was almost 50-50 Clemson. And is Clemson really a top 5 team? I think this year, outside of the top 3, it really drops off. Maybe the top 4 with Michigan, but outside of the top 4 right there, I think it's anyone's game. I think Clemson is a really good team, but they could lose on any given week. And then one of the most surprising upsets for me this week was K-State at Oklahoma. Adrian Martinez has been underperforming since the season started there at Kansas State, but this game he really came into his own. 234 yards passing, 148 yards rushing, and 5 total touchdowns. If they can expect this kind of performance out of Adrian going forward, they have the defensive unit to be able to make a lot of noise in the Big 12 this year. And Dylan Gabriel had a night of his own. 330 yards passing and 4 touchdowns and 61 yards rushing. The Big 12 looks to be getting better and better every week. The competition runs so deep in this conference, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch it play out this season. Next game that I have here is Florida at Tennessee. Both quarterbacks played really well in this game. Anthony Richardson had 450 yards throwing and 4 total touchdowns. Meanwhile, Hendon Hooker had 349 yards throwing on 3 total touchdowns. And I'm not going to lie, I was excited to see Tennessee pull this one out. They had some crazy stat that Tennessee had lost so many games against Florida and other rivals in the SEC that I was happy for them to really get it done. And I really want to see Tennessee do something big this year. However, we've seen this from Tennessee before, where they're riding high in the early parts of the season just to crash and burn towards the end. And this team is looking very good. We'll have to see how far they can go in the SEC, but I'm pulling for them. And Florida is really settling into what people thought they were going into the season, kind of a middle-of-the-road SEC team, and that's kind of what they're proving to be. Anthony Richardson has some up and down performances. They got a great game from him this week, but it wasn't enough to get the W. Florida doesn't look bad by any stretch, but doesn't look like they're going to be challenging for the top part of the conference. And then my personal favorite matchup was Duke at Kansas. Kansas continues to impress me, and especially their quarterback, Jalen Daniels. 324 yards passing, 83 yards rushing for 5 total touchdowns. Other quarterbacks in the country have had great years so far, but this guy has been consistent week in, week out, showing great performances both on the ground and through the air. He's been fun to watch, and I think he's one of my sleeper Heisman candidates. I still don't know how good Kansas is, given the fact that they've beat Duke at home. Not super convincingly, but they showed really well. Duke, I don't think, is a very good team, even though they came in undefeated. And I think they probably should be in the top 25 this week, given their schedule. Although I think some of the outrage of them not being in the top 25 is a bit overblown. They're one spot out, and I don't think that's crazy. But they have a tough road going forward. The Big 12 is just so deep this year. There's a lot of quality opponents left on their schedule. The next couple weeks, they get Iowa State and TCU at home, which, in my opinion, might be must wins for them if they want to get bowl eligible, as the road gets really tough for them after that. Let's look at the schedule. So they have Oklahoma and Baylor on the road. Those ones are going to be 2 tough games to pull out. Home against Oklahoma State, at Texas Tech, home against Texas. Okay, that's a W right there. And then at Kansas State, which will be a great rivalry game to end the season. So although Kansas has been good, I don't see a lot of more wins for them going forward if they can't get past Iowa State and TCU, which both look like very competent teams. but I'm pulling for them to get bowl eligible, so let's see it, Kansas. And then some honorable mentions from this week. Michigan found a way to get it done at home against Maryland. Maryland looked really good in that game. Is Michigan kind of in a tier with Ohio State and Alabama and Georgia, or are they just one tier below? Let me know in the comments on that one. USC pulled out a close road win against Oregon State, which I kind of predicted. I thought that would be a tough one for them, but they managed to get it done, which shows grit, shows determination. We'll have to follow USC going forward as far as the playoff race is concerned. And then Arkansas hits the top upright to lose against Texas A&M, which was a heartbreaker for me because I was pulling for Arkansas selfishly. But nonetheless, a great game. And then Texas Tech with that gutsy win over Texas. Texas and Oklahoma both losing. It's just funny every year with them moving to the SEC and watching all the other Big 12 fans clown them. But good for Texas Tech, and just a great week all around. So let me know what your favorite matchup was this last week, and like this video if you liked it, and we'll see you guys in the next one.